Okay, guys. So we are going to finish up with one last talk here. I think that's everybody. All right, so we're going to finish today up with one little talk here. As many of you guys are pretty competitive in the sport is advancing very quickly towards you need to be really, really, really good at qualifiers or your season is ending real soon, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about how we get better at qualifiers and how we are going to be able to put in our best effort, execution, and how to kind of control some of our focus in order to do that. So I think I've had everybody in a group this weekend, and we've outlined a lot of this already, but we're just going to kind of reiterate it here. But a live competition is significantly different than these online qualifiers, as I'm sure many of you know. So in these online qualifiers, we're not able to play a lot of mental games. We're not able to play racing games with people. I think the people that were in my group last night for the 50 thrusters, we talked about how this workout would be significantly easier if you were in person because you get to see everybody doing it and you know what pace to hold. Does that kind of make sense? Also in my earlier group, we talked about how you can do things like come out hot on the chest to bars. Maybe you trick everybody and they're like, oh shit, I gotta go unbroken. But you in the back of your mind are like, I'm gonna hold back on the next round, screw them. So there is a rate, so there's different games you can play in person, but for these online qualifiers, we have to kind of race under the premise that we're racing the clock. And so this is actually how a lot of people do their best in the sport, is just racing the clock in general and not putting blinders on to what everybody else is doing in the lanes next to them. And so we're going to kind of operate under this premise of just race the clock. You're going to do your best against the clock, okay? So the first thing that we're going to need to understand in doing these qualifiers and getting your best score on the qualifiers is how to pace, okay? First thing in learning how to pace is what type of athlete are you? So there's really kind of three types of athletes. There's a powerful athlete, an athlete that's going to be a little bit more consistent on their pacing structure, and then there is a negative split athlete. So I'm going to use a mile example for this as just kind of a general example. For the world record mile holder, their first lap is their second fastest lap. Their second lap is their third fastest lap. Their third lap is their fourth fastest, and then their last lap will vary between their first and their second fastest. Does that kind of make sense? So there's always like some sort of kick going on there. And so we want to use some sort of metric like that to understand what type of athlete we are. We always want to use intervals to kind of show us what type of athlete we are. So we're going to use this here, 3 sets, 24 18 cal row, 12 thrusters, 9 burpee box jump overs, 30 24, 12 thrusters, 135 95, row 24 18 cal. So ladder down, ladder up, back up. All right. You're going to do this at 100% effort, and you're going to rest 12 minutes between sets. So this is, disgusting, right? You will be dying the whole 12 minutes if you do it correctly. And so what we'll do is we'll get times for each round. So you might be 3 minutes, 3:20, 3:40. This is going to show you that you're a little bit more of a you might be like 4:20. This is going to show you that you're a little bit more of a powerful athlete, okay? We see those times decrease per set. Other people might be 3:10, 3:12, 3:11. A little bit more of a consistent athlete. Other people might be 3:15, 3:12, 3:06. Negative split athlete. Does that kind of make sense? So if you guys kind of think about it inside of a workout, yesterday's 4 rounds was a good example of that. That should kind of tell you what type of athlete you are. Are you a negative split athlete? That will tell you what you're predispositioned to do inside of workouts. When I was competing, I would come out freaking hot on workouts and just try and hold on, right? I was a more powerful athlete. I know a lot of other people, trying to think, a lot of swimmers actually, minus Spencer, wherever you are. Yeah. are more, yeah, there we go. A lot of swimmers, they train negative splits. So when they come into the sport, they're actually a little bit more predispositioned to be negative split athletes. So really, what type of athlete you are is going to dictate first how we're going to pace workouts, okay? Getting into some training stuff, whatever type of athlete you are, this is a good test to run to give you guys an idea of what type of athlete you are, because generally you're going to want to train in the opposite realm. So as a more powerful athlete, I had to train more negative split and more aerobic work so that my rounds wouldn't fall off from 3 minutes to 320 to 420. It was more 304, 312, 316 when I started training negative splits. Does that kind of make sense, guys? More consistent and negative split athletes, you guys have to raise your power output, so you're going to be doing a lot of sprint work and a lot of high power output work. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. So, as general rules of thumbs, when you're coming up with pacing structures, is a powerful athlete has to start their workouts out painfully slow. Like painfully slow. It is going to feel so, like on the first round of that workout yesterday, it should feel like you can talk to somebody coming off of the first round. That's how painfully slow you should be. By the halfway through the second round, it'll catch back up to you and you will be hurting, okay? But that's as a general rule of thumb. We're trying to come out very slow because we have such a high power output, it's going to catch back up to us at a latter round. For consistent athletes, we need to know more so for consistent athletes, we need to know a little bit more of what your floor is, and same thing with negative split athletes. So for these guys, what we're trying to do is understand what your split times are, okay? So for consistent athletes, we're gonna want to run a pretty much full round or a very similar rep scheme to what we're gonna be experiencing out in the actual workout. And this will tell us kind of how fast we need to go right out of the gate. Does that make sense? So like if you don't understand that as a negative split or consistent athlete, there's a propensity to start too slow and not be able to make up a gap in workouts. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. So for negative split athletes, you need to know your floor. You guys are always going to go faster inside of workouts. So what I mean by floor is you need to know how slow you can go in order to make up enough ground to catch back up to everybody and pass everybody. Does that make sense? So for consistent and negative split athletes, we need to test those rounds beforehand. Negative split is going to have a deeper understanding of the sport to know, like, all right, if I go 3 minutes on this round of the first round, the fastest I can go is 2 minutes, and I've already put myself in a 4-minute hole, or trying to negative split rounds 1, 2, and 3. I'm not catching back up in round 4. So my floor needs to be closer to 230 because now I'm only in a 30-second hole and I can catch back up to everybody else. Does that kind of make sense, guys? Okay, cool. So those are general rules of thumb. Know what type of athlete you are, and then from there, you can kind of create some pacing structures and understand how to pace workouts a little bit better. Cool? All right, the second thing is you have to know what the workout is. Deeply. You have to deeply understand what the workout is. And so this is why we've been breaking up into these small groups and giving you guys different coaches this weekend, is so that you're getting very different perspectives on the workouts and getting differing opinions on how to attack the workouts. This is going to force you guys to think more, which is ultimately going to teach you guys more about the sport. So you can kind of take what we're giving you, reflect on it, digest it, and kind of understand yourself a little bit more. But what this comes down to is, what does the workout call for? Is it a fast workout? Is it a slow workout? So last night we had 50 and 50 or 40 and 50 cow row and thrusters. Pretty fast workout. This morning we had a 20-minute AMRAP. Very consistent and slower workout, right? So we need to understand what the workout is calling for. Does it need to be fast? Does it need to be a moderate pace? Does it need to be aggressive? A lot of the times this comes down more in like a 4-time workout. of we have a chunk of work that we need to get done, and we need to understand how to get it done. So like tonight's workout was a perfect example of that. A couple of the people that I had going were questioning I'll get to that in a second. So we just need to understand how fast we need to go on the workout. What is it calling for in regards to the speed of the workout? Does that make sense? Okay. Then we need to know whether it's what type of score we're getting on the workout. So an MRAP, reps, for time, intervals. Sometimes those are timed intervals, sometimes those are rep intervals. These make a big difference in how we approach or how we attack the workout. So who here likes to see a 4-time workout on the whiteboard? Not very many. Who prefers an MRAP? Man, you guys are wild. So everybody's brain works a little bit differently in how they attack and pace a workout. For a lot of people, giving yourself a designated set time of how long I need to work for helps them out. Other people are a little bit maybe task-oriented, and so seeing what they need to complete helps them out, or a little bit more like they might know some metrics of the sport a little bit better and can reflect back to, I know how long this is going to take, I know what it feels like, etc. So, but either way, how you approach them is going to be a little bit different. MRAPs, you're consistently working for a set amount of time. Does that make sense? So you can break it up into chunks. If we have a 15-minute MRAP, we can kind of break that up into three-minute chunks, 2.5-minute chunks, 5-minute chunks. And then we know, okay, in this 5-minute iteration of this workout, I need to be at this pace. Powerful athlete needs to be slower. Negative split athlete needs to start getting more aggressive from their 5 to 10 minutes. Consistent needs to just hold a consistent pace throughout the course of that workout. Does that kind of make sense, guys? Okay. For time, we need to know what chunks of work feel like. Does that make sense? So the GHDs in this workout earlier tonight, I'm going to use Bree as an example. I know she's not here, but she referenced back to the fact that she's done 100 GHDs in a workout before. She's like, do you think I should stop somewhere? We know that there's no other conflicting fatigues in that workout, and we know that she's done 100 GHDs in the past. So we just said, go for it, get all 80 done, okay? She did that, and we knew that the first rope climb was gonna suck, probably the second and third for her. They did, but there was no other conflicting fatigue, and she was able to push harder on that workout. So for time workouts, we need to know a little bit more of what chunks of workouts feel like. Does that make sense? Or what chunks of kind of density sets or intervals of 5 chest to bar, 10 handstand push-ups, 15 dumbbell snatches on single arm or something like that. We need to know what intervals feel like for us. So know the score. Again, referencing back tonight's workout with the fatigue, we need to know what fatigue comes in. Earlier was kind of a grip workout, right? Last night was breathing and leg fatigue, local muscular endurance in the legs, and a lot of respiratory endurance. We need to know what fatigue substrates are going to be happening in that workout. A lot of that is athlete dependent, and so that is you guys learning and understanding more about your body. Does that make sense? And what certain movements do to your body and what certain styles of workouts do to your body. I think there was a workout in the open 20.2 of 4 dumbbell thrusters, 6 toes to bar, and then 24 double unders or something like that. Yeah, I remember that one. So there was 20-minute AMRAP. Yeah. So a lot of people were like, cool, shorter rep scheme. I'm going to come out hot. And then they died, right? And they were like, whoa, my respiration rates are way higher than I was expecting. Those dumbbells lit me up. I thought I would be able to breathe through toes to bar and double unders really easily. So we need to practice the sport and understand what all those different metrics or different combinations of movement do to us. And those, we'll get into this more, but that needs to be notes in your training log. That's why we ask you guys for notes in your training log, so it acts as more of a memory for you guys as well, okay? And the last one is bottlenecks. So this workout tonight, again, 40 strict handstand push-ups was a lot for people, or 30 snatches at a set weight in a workout is a lot for people. A lot of times we see it climbing the ladder of a barbell in an open workout or a quarterfinal workout, or dense set of ring muscle ups. So a lot of the time there's a bottleneck, and you need to understand how to approach that bottleneck inside of workouts, okay? So CrossFit tests a lot of specific numbers in the sport. 30 snatches, 100 deadlifts, 30 to 50 strict handstand push-ups, 30 ring muscle-ups, about 100 upper body pulling motions. Those are all things that you guys need to be kind of aware of numbers-wise so that you can understand how to attack those bottlenecks. In the ring muscle-ups or the muscle-ups or the chest-to-bar, whatever it is, you're like 50 reps. I know for me that sets of 5 on those is going to get me through that faster than doing something like 20, blowing up and trying to finish my last 30. Does that make sense? For toes to bar, for example, there are a lot of, 50 was a pretty big number back in the day. I was very good at toes to bar, but I had to do them in sets of 5 if it was anything over 30. Over 30 reps, I couldn't do a big set. I had to do 5, otherwise the last 10 would take me like 2 minutes because I was blown up. So small sets can help you through those bottlenecks, but you need to understand what those sets are by practicing the sport more. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, and the last thing that we have, guys, is knowing your metrics. So I just touched on a lot of different numbers, right? The only way you are going to learn from a metric-based, from those numbers is if you are keeping a training log, because your memory will fail you, and writing down your score and then how you attacked that workout. So went back to why we ask you guys for results, right? It is that writing that down and keeping track of those numbers and getting those how you attacked those bottlenecks is going to be huge for you guys to reference back to specific workouts. So last night we had people in my group reference, we just did 25.3, which was a 50 cal row, right? And so a lot of people were referencing that row as their pacing structure for that first 50 cals last night, because you had to get off that 50 cals and do a whole bunch of work right afterwards, right? And so that was a super simple thing that people could pull from right away and then go into the workout and create a pacing structure around that. Does that make sense, guys? So again, the open workouts are a little bit more memorable for people. They're a bigger event, but you need to have this stuff written down inside of a training log so that you can come back and see that 30 snatches took this amount of time, and I broke it up into 3-3-3 singles the rest of the way, or just singles, or whatever it might be. Does that make sense? Cool. How many of you guys have a training log? True Coach can count, yeah. Does anyone still keep it on paper? Becca? Stella. Does anybody have like a Google Sheets of their own data?
That's what I have.
Google Sheets?
A couple of workouts.
Go notes, yep. I would suggest doing that, is having either a Google Sheets or a notes on your phone, somewhere where you're keeping the extra important stuff, and then like your blog or True Coach or whatever you guys are using can be something that, oh, you know what? That was kind of obscure, but I remember doing that, a couple months ago. I'm going to take some time today, scroll back, find that workout, and oh, okay, that's exactly what I did for this workout. So keep the training log because it is very important. So all of this together is an art form, and you guys are going to have to practice the art form to come up with good pacing structures. As well, you're going to come up with a pacing structure. You're going to get halfway through the workout and go, oh, fuck. And you're going to have to come up with a completely new pacing structure, right? So, but if you guys get good and you know all of these things, those are tools that you can instantly pull from in the middle of the workout, as long as you guys aren't blacking out in the middle of the workout. Some people do that. But those are tools you guys can use to instantly pull from in the middle of the workout and come up with that new pacing structure on the spot. So practice all of these things when you guys are seeing a workout, or if your coach has a tester for you, like one time a week, you can kind of use all of this inside of coming up with a game plan for that tester. and just kind of constantly be thinking about that throughout the day, and then come up with a game plan, test the game plan, and then reflect on the game plan. Make sense? Cool. That's it. Thanks, guys.